Good afternoon, YouTube. I hope everyone is having a blessed day. I had a few minutes that I thought I would just talk about some of the things that I remember about waking up and understanding that there was something deeply wrong with the religion that I was a part of. So today I wanted to talk about new light and how the concept of new light caused me to wake up. So, as many of you know, I have studied human behavior as well as world religion. So I have a different set of eyes now that I'm older and have graduated from college a few times over and have traveled the world and talked to so many different types of people. But I always find it fascinating to talk about what it's like to grow up in a cult and what it's like to talk about how you slowly woke up and some of the things that triggered you to start thinking about maybe this isn't what I should be believing in, or there's something terribly wrong. Now, I didn't have all of the 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 knowledge. I didn't have all of the studies. I had not at the time that I'm going to talk about some of the triggers that I had not went to college yet. So I didn't exactly know that I was being mind controlled, and I didn't know that they were using techniques. But some of the techniques that cults use is they use conditioning agents and they use trigger words and trigger songs, and they continually reinforce certain themes so that you're so indoctrinated by it that you don't even realize it. So, as I've mentioned, this is an apocalyptic religion. So there's two parts to the Jehovah Witness quote unquote religion. There's the apocalyptic religion where they try to predict the end of the world, and the publishing empire. So they are very closely entwined. And so what they do is they use a lot of mind control techniques to continue to fear people and to staying in this belief system. And they use trigger words and trigger songs. And when you step back, when you're out of it, you're like, wow, I was really indoctrinated. I came across a diary that I kept when I was about 14, 15, yeah, about 15. And it was really interesting when I read it because I saw so many things that I had been indoctrinated with. But so a lot of the techniques that the Jehovah Witnesses use is not isolated to the Jehovah Witnesses. If you actually study cults and you actually study how they get people to stay in the religion, how do they get people to believe these things that they really have no true factual evidence? And in this case, they continually keep changing it. So, a new light is a fascinating doctrine. It's a get out of jail free card, if you will. I find it fascinating that people continue to allow the Jehovah Witnesses to do false doctrine, to give false doctrine, to write false doctrine, and then to say, oops, we made a mistake, but now we have new light. And so this new light is supposed to erase past mistakes. So this new light, it's supposed to erase all of this, right? And we're not supposed to ask any questions on how they came up with this incorrect doctrine, because they make it so that the new light is a conditioning tactic. It keeps you from asking questions, and if you ask questions, then they will tell you that you're not spiritually strong. And so when I was 14 years old, there were a few things that happened. I had went to a circuit assembly. I realized that they don't do things the way they did when I was a part of it, which is very fascinating to me. But when I was a part of this cult, there used to be a circuit assembly and there used to be a district convention. And it was really interesting after I really started studying this religion, that I realized that a lot of these uh, conventions that they have are nothing more than sales conventions and also continuing the apocalyptic belief system. So they're twofold. So I remember going to a um, a, a circuit assembly, and there was something that triggered me. It's very hard to explain, but I think it's kind of like those aha moments when you kind of step outside yourself and say, why have I been doing this, or why haven't I seen this before? So the first thing that happened was, um, we were doing a song, we were singing a song that was a very popular song, and it was really about living forever in a paradise on earth. And what triggered something for me was actually watching this woman. This woman was a sign language interpreter. So she had stood in front of the congregation and was interpreting it through American Sign Language. But what I remember about her sign language was that it seemed fanatical. It it looked abnormal. I watched her behavior even at 14 years old, and there was something about it that made me look at the rest of the audience. And I remember looking at people, and it was kind of like stepping outside the board and looking at all these people. And I was like, there's something wrong with this picture, and I can't really say what it is, but I'm like, how did I get here? And I think as I sat in that circuit assembly and I listened more intently than I ever had before, I started to realize that I certainly don't like being preached at, and that's a personal thing, but I felt like I had heard the talks many, many times before. And then what happened is they wanted to, the big main talk was about a new publication. And they wanted to talk about this new publication, and they wanted to talk about this new light. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was a doctrine that they basically had done a 180 on. And for the first time, I realized that this new light was really, like I said, a get out of jail free card. They have indoctrinated the people in their organization that they can make mistakes, multiple mistakes on doctrine, predictions, and all they have to do is say new light. And it triggered so many other memories I had of sitting in the Kingdom Hall and remembering every single time that they said they had new light and how it was connected to a new publication. And it all had to do with predicting the end of the world and how the Jehovah Witnesses had all the answers. And it really, really opened my eyes. I was like, I was so scared. And that's the thing. So when you are in a cult and you've been indoctrinated, and when you start realizing things, especially an apocalyptic cult, because I've talked to people where I have actually had them admit that a lot of the things that the Jehovah Witnesses have prophesied and have done have been incorrect. But they hold on to this belief system because of the fear of dying or being destroyed in Armageddon. In one of my videos, I talked about how it took me 10 years to stop having Armageddon nightmares. And my nightmares were almost chapter and verse a lot of the imagery that I had been raised with in these supposedly child and teenage books. And I knew when I was still having, dreams about being destroyed in Armageddon, I knew that the religion was not right. But I think the more that I had these nightmares, the more that I was scared of what I was actually a part of, because I didn't realize how much it had conditioned me. So when you look at people that even when they know that there are certain things that are in that religion that are wrong, they have been so indoctrinated, because that's what mind control does, is it fears you. And that the fear of being destroyed in Armageddon, if you have been born in this, or you have had it for a good portion of your life, it's very difficult to get out of that line of thinking, and to realize that, hey, there is no Armageddon. There's no reason for me to be afraid. I don't need to have a group of men that are in Warwick defining my life. And even when they make mistakes, they just hide behind this new light doctrine. And how many times are they going to keep making mistakes and justifying it with being imperfect? But no other organization, no other group of people can do that. It's a sign that it's false if they make false predictions. And that's really another part of why I want people to understand how deep this new light goes, because what they'll do is, what they love to do is, they love to attack other belief systems, and they tell you to go back to the beginning, go back to when these organizations were started, and look at what it's based on. But you can't do that with the Jehovah Witness religion, because if you did that and you realized what it was based on, and all of the mistakes that they've made, they would look at you like, wait a minute, we've had new light. And that's what I wanted to talk about today. There's no such thing as new light. New light is the fact that they don't know what they're talking about. The more that I look at some of the videos from the governing body, the more that I'm convinced that a lot of those members have some really serious delusional issues. Delusions of grandeur, delusions of themselves. I fear for people following these men, because they are so detached from reality in some areas, and they're making up almost a fabled existence. But that's for another video. I just wanted to talk about new light. There's no new light. They made a mistake and they're just trying to fix it. And for me, that was the beginning of my waking up. It was a trigger for me to start asking questions about what it is that was really being taught in the Kingdom Hall. And so as people, and I know Jehovah Witnesses are sneaking and watching these videos, and I want people to start realizing that you're on the right path. Continue on your march. There are so many people that have gone through what you've gone through. I am going to do a video about how to get out of this belief system, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the things that helped me to wake up, and how it gave me the courage to walk away. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.